So it was a bit of an eye-opener, realizing that the booking.coms, the Airbnbs really are there to be used to suit yourself rather than the other way around. They're not doing me a favor. And I spent probably, especially after lockdown, it was like my life's work to move to book direct. So we're looking at about 80% book direct at the moment, and I want to get it to 100%. I only ever turn them on when I need to. That sounds rude, doesn't it? I don't mean to be rude. No, I only utilize them when I need to. So
having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely. If you want my respect, you better book direct. Here are the words in the podcast, that's what comes next.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Boostly podcast. This is the podcast that gives hosts the tools, the tactics, the training, most importantly, the confidence so you can go out there and get yourselves direct bookings. We do a mini series on the Boostly podcast where I get to introduce and interview hosts from all over the world so you can learn their tips and tricks and all the things they do in their business, which you can put into your business as well. And this is always great fun. I always learn something. And today we've got an old friend of Boostly, somebody who has been in the Boostly community for many years. She's fantastic. I've seen her on television appearances as well. So I'm going to mention that. We've got Georgina Behrman of the Seacroft Bed, Breakfast and Bar. She is the owner there, and I'm really excited to dive into this because recently she's been learning all sorts of marketing tactics and even showing me a thing or two, which is amazing. So welcome along, Georgina. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Liam. It's probably about time we did this. So
Oh, definitely. As we've said beforehand, there's a few people within the community that we want to try and come and do this. If you can introduce yourself, Georgina, and your business, if you give us like the elevator pitch.
Sure. I'm Georgina Behrman. I've got the Seacroft Bed, Breakfast and Bar in Lytham St Anne's. It's a 8-bedroom bed and breakfast, and we trade all year round. Obviously we have a peak season, off season. We're trying to boost that at the moment. What else can I tell you? Gosh, we were on the hotel inspector. We did the first crazy step in marketing we ever did. So people may remember. I've aged a lot since then, I think. The stress has got to me.
Do you know what? I didn't know you were on that until you told me. So I then went out and dug out the episode, and I love the Hotel Inspector. Like, it's a guilty pleasure of mine. So actually watching that, and for any of our US kind of listeners to this, there's something where an expert goes into bed and breakfast and hotels up and down the country. They go in and they basically say what could be improved and all this sort of stuff. And when you went on that, Georgina, what was just talk us through briefly the thought process of going on that and how did it help?
Yeah, I question myself quite often about why we did this. I knew when we took over the Seacroft, it was doing nothing at all. So we were starting really from scratch. And then we got to the point after a couple of years where we knew we got a good product, we got a good service, we got it going, but we'd literally got nobody knew who we were. We were invisible. And so I've got a business studies degree, but I did it a long time ago. And obviously, so digital marketing's come on board, and things have changed quite a bit since then. So my way around that, without knowing about digital marketing at the time, was how can I get some national coverage? And I thought, well, I'm not going to do 4 in a bed. I'm going to do the hotel inspector. But at no point did I ever think they would come, even right to the very last. I sort of the application went in the September of 2017, and even up to January 2018, I didn't think they were coming, and then they said we're coming next week. I was like, oh
Wow.
Yeah, that was that.
So whereabouts is the property, and just tell us about the general area, just what is it like in that area? And bear in mind we've got UK and US listeners.
Okay, so for anybody who's outside of the UK, I'm in the northwest of England, on the northwestern coast, about 1 hour west of Manchester. We're a little bit south of Blackpool, a little town called St Anne's. It's part of a dual town called Lytham St Anne's. People who are keen golfers might know Royal Lytham. We're about a 9-minute walk from there, actually, and a 2-minute walk from the beach, so it's quite handy. Our sort of cousin is Blackpool, so anybody locally will know for Blackpool Tower and all the facilities we have there. We're kind of a little bit more sleepy than that. It's very flat. There's lots of things to do for young children. There's lots of bars, restaurants and cafes. It's sort of a more chilled vibe, really. So
who is it that tends to come and stay with you And what do they tend to like to do in the area?
So actually, I could probably answer this more fully this week than I probably would be able to normally, having done a bit of an assignment on it. But we've gone beyond the customer avatar to a customer persona. So generally speaking, we capture the nostalgia, people who are sort of chasing nostalgia from their childhood. So our client base is usually around age 50 to 65. They've had experience of coming to Blackpool historically with their families. Often they'll bring grandchildren with them. For us, with our 8 bedrooms, it's quite steep accommodation. We tend to sort of accommodate adults rather than children, that kind of thing. It suits our offering better, if you know what I mean. We're just not we're not kitted up. We don't have the space, to be honest, to offer anything else. That's where we're at.
One of the things I wanted to jump in there and just talk about is, I know that, I mean, we're all about direct bookings at Boostly, and you shared a stat with me just before we went live. I want you to share it again.
Right. So I'll tell you, being on TV is one of the most amazing things ever. And as a result of that, one of the OOGs from Boostly actually recommended Boostly to me in another community group. And that's when I joined. It was a bit of an eye-opener, realizing that the booking.coms, the Airbnbs really are there to be used to suit yourself rather than the other way around. They're not doing me a favor. And I spent probably, especially after lockdown, it was like my life's work to move to Book Direct. So we're looking at about 80% Book Direct at the moment, and I want to get it to 100%. I only ever turn them on when I need to. That sounds rude, doesn't it? I don't mean to be rude. No, I only utilize them when I need to. So
yeah, I mean, that is amazing. And just to be at 80% direct bookings, there's so many people listening to this, which is just like, yeah, I'd love to be.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at the start. Literally, it was 100%. And I remember paying out something like, I mean, bearing in mind, I only got 8 bedrooms. 1 August, when I should have been full with my own guests, I paid out something like £860 to them.
In commission.
And so, yeah, and I when I joined Boostly, I think Mark probably will tell you that I thought he was a dodgy guy and that he was after my money, and I wasn't going to give him any money until he gave me something. And the thing that he gave me was the Google Ads training, and that was the best thing. I saved myself so much money doing that, and I joined Boostly immediately.
So take me back. Why did you get into hospitality? Like, I know this is one of those
madness.
Yeah, you're crazy. Why did you do hospitality?
I don't know. I woke up one day. No, I actually have a family background in hotels, so I grew up in one. I think I started working hospitality at 8 years old when I first took my first breakfast to my first guests. Wow. So, my parents had 2 boarding houses and a pub, and then they decided they were going to do something completely different. And then after I did it, believe it or not, I didn't like school so much. It just was far too boring for me. I wanted to do exciting stuff like business. So I decided that I wasn't going to go to university. I wasn't even going to do very well at A levels. I was going to go and do a HND in hotel and catering at my local college. So I passed that. I decided that it was then time to do a degree. And then in between time, something happened where I was working for Whitbread at the time as an in-house trainer for Beefeater, and I wanted to sort of nurture that, and there wasn't the training available. So I ended up doing a PGCE after my degree, and then ended up teaching for 16 years. So I had a massive time out. And then my entire family have always had their own business, and there was always that sort of nagging at the back of my brain. I wanted to do my own business just to see A, if I could do it, and B, to see if I can make it rock. So I started looking, and then I found one that was run by really successfully in the local area by an ex-head teacher and his wife, and that they spoke my language at the time completely. And then by accident, it's almost like the planets aligned. I found this one, and the people had it were ready for retiring. He hadn't been very well, and they'd literally run all their trade down. It was doing minimal. In fact, it wasn't. We couldn't even finance a mortgage on it at all. Wow. So we had to look outside. That's a whole nother story. We did it eventually, but they weren't keen. And when we finally got going, I think post COVID, we were, as I put on the bit of my notes here, tickling the VAT, not the VAT, the VAT threshold. So yeah, it's worked out. It's really well. So madness, complete madness.
This has been really fun, Georgina, and I knew it would be fun. Time has flown on here, and I've definitely picked up, first of all, the the hospitality feeling, like I can see you're an awesome host, and also the fact that if there's any marketing that you haven't tried, if you're listening to this just going, no, I don't do Google ads, or I don't find out Facebook, or I don't do any marketing, well, everybody can do it. And this is something which I know that you want to share. So the last thing for yourself, Georgina, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, and then B, do you have a mantra for us to see us off?
Oh gosh, yeah, I want to shout out to Jamie, he's my husband, who puts up with me. He's a quiet one of the team, so he's like, oh god, what's she done now? And the great team of lecturers and my fellow students at Manchester Metropolitan University who are doing the MSc in digital marketing communications. What an eye-opener that's been. What a blast. So yeah, that's good. So mantra, definitely never give up. Just never give up.
Nice. I've definitely got that from this podcast. And thank you so much for sharing your journey. I've certainly learned things, and I hope you listening to this have done as well. If there's people who get value from the Boostly podcast, please share this with them, and come and carry on the conversation on the Facebook hospitality community. Quick search on there or find us, and you can come and join other hosts in the community and ask questions. And yeah, thank you so much, Georgina. This has been really fun. We'll see everybody on the next podcast.
Having a blast, gonna get it on the Boostly podcast. Boostly like Bruce Lee, cause it's so hard and the T is loose leaf. Making up those rhymes, don't write it, just do it loosely.